Hi everyone, welcome back to another European quarterly meetup. This is the Q3 meetup, and we are happy to be here live again with you all. So without any further delays, I will just ask my panelists to enable their cameras and microphones. Hi Domenico, hi Thomas. So,
hi Zoltán, hi Thomas, good morning.
Good morning.
So we will begin with a discussion about innovative strategies for acquisitions and long-term retention in the gaming industry. And it's very important to know that in an era where the competition for the player attention is very fierce, it's crucial not only to attract new players, but also to keep them engaged. So today, Thomas Kolbabek, CTO at Golden Whale Productions, and Domenico Mazzola, Director of Sales at Flows, will explain how to do it. So before we begin, I would like to ask you guys to introduce yourselves, say a few words about your companies.
Do you want to go first, Domenico?
Well, okay. First of all, I see here Zoltán put no pressure on us because we will explain people how to do retention is a kind of a bold statement. Let's say we will try our best. So for the people that don't know me yet, I am Domenico Mazzola, Sales Director at Flows. I've been working for this company for the last year and a half almost. We do automation and we help people innovate without using, let's say, developers. It's a no-code tool. And I'm very happy to have the chance today to be with you, Thomas and Zoltán.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, all. Thank you for joining and thank you for having me. I'm Thomas, CTO at Golden Whale Productions, and we produce a platform to provide machine learning services based on data from PAM, so player account management systems, but also CRM systems, and to the topic acquisition systems, combining all of that and helping you to spend your money as focused as possible. Yeah, that's the very short version.
That's good. So we are cutting directly to the chase, talking about the first point here that we have on the agenda. It's about cutting edge tactics and for player acquisition. So take your turn, guys, and give us some examples about cutting edge tactics for player acquisitions that yield higher conversion rates. Domenico, go first.
Okay. So, well, the truth is that probably there are actually companies that are selling online and in-presence courses about actually how to master retention, and we will try our best to squeeze as many key points as we can in the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes. In my opinion, there are two high-level relevant aspects that we should discuss when we touch about let's say the potential tactics. And one is, of course, to get deep into some of them. And I mentioned a few ones. For example, it's very important and it's key. And I think almost everybody would agree that it's important to have a system that allows you to automate marketing campaigns and marketing emails. So when certain events in your platform, in your operation happens, you should be able to, let's say in real time, to get them and do something with it. So the moment you get a customer that tries to register on your website and then doesn't make any deposit in, I don't know, 3 days, 7 days, you should be able to have the data. You should be able to have that information in real time and then to do something about it, to prepare an email, to segment the customer in the proper way using your CRM or different tools, and so on and so forth. So this is the first one of the first points. Then, of course, there is another important part that I would mention, that many times there's not a single way to do things. And the truth is that in many occasions, the only way to find out what works for you is to have the chance to test it. So it's important as well to have in place processes and tools that allow you to do a kind of A/B testing process, So basically you have the chance to test different behaviors or different email campaigns or different messages that you can send to different segment of customers. So you can understand what works for you, what works for your market, and then you adjust your strategy accordingly. Because we know that, as you mentioned, Zoltán, today, it's very challenging. The competition is fierce, and I always say that there is not only a competition among operators, casino operators, but players' attention has also, let's say, could be dedicated to Netflix, to spending evenings on Facebook just watching stupid reels. So there are plenty of distractions, opportunities. So operators must consider also this as potential, let's say, stealing time points. And then, of course, once you have in place, let's say, a way that automatically is managing the customer journeys, and then you have a way that in an easy possibility gives you the possibility, basically easy to test different sections, different opportunities, different functions. And then it's important then again to really work deeply in the segmentation, maybe assigning different scoring points to different players based on their activity. Because then, and we will touch this later on, the moment you manage to really segment your player, and this goes up to an individual level, I would say, then it's easier to retain him. Because if he's a sportsbook provider, if he's a sportsbook player, it would be not so functional to offer him a casino bonus. And if he's a VIP and you give him a €3 free bet, probably he will feel offended and will just even not play in the casino anymore. So, and then just to finish, and I pass the ball to you, Thomas. I touched a few points, but then the biggest question mark is, how many companies can easily and fast implementing all these things? Because you have basically startups that have very limited resources in people, and probably at the beginning, their main focus is on acquisition rather than on retention. So they spend the money they have with the media buying, with the striking deals with affiliates, and then say, okay, we will think about retention later on.
Yeah.
And then you get these big established companies that have different departments, the head of the head of the head of the head, and they need 50 emails just to organize a meeting. And then things are moved very, very slow. And then, and sorry to say, Thomas, at the end, the request goes back to the CTO that in many cases is always busy. And they say, we are entering this new market. We need the AGLI certification now. We need this, we need that. Let's talk about it next quarter. And in the meantime, nobody's doing what I just mentioned at the beginning.
All right, that's a good point. Thomas.
I'm not taking this as an offense. I was in the shoe of the CTO, in the shoe of a database developer, having too many meetings. So this was one of the reasons why at Golden we believe we have to automate this, and this has to be automated to get an edge. So in addition to what you said, completely right, segment customer base, create rules, ideally do this in a platform that allows for experiments like flows, to cross-promote here. And beyond that, with rules, you can select a certain set criteria that you have to review. So you have to have that meeting again to agree on the rule. And now the beauty of machine learning models that we deploy is that beyond that, you can actually combine past KPIs, so past actual data, how much has a user wagered, deposited, so your operational opinion with what the model will predict, so the future values. And suddenly you have segments that are based both, and this can be balanced, of course. Yeah. So how much do you want to consider the past? How much do you want to consider the future? To treat the customer in the right way, in the right moment. So like you said, not give them a €3 bonus, but a bonus that is relevant to them, or an incentive that is relevant to them. It can also be a message. It doesn't always need to be something monetary. Also, you might be restricted in your jurisdiction. So I'm heavily, obviously involved also in jurisdictions and technical compliance, where you can't maybe give bonuses as easily, or where you're limited in the amount of bonuses you can give, or limited in what the players can spend. So in terms of retention, the long tail becomes increasingly important. It's not a couple of customers that spend a lot, like your VIPs, which was the case in many markets of the early 2000s. But you have to increasingly, both for sustainability, so sustainably engage your players, but also to keep up with regulatory requirements, engage every player, not just 1%. Yeah? And that is something that you can't do with meetings. That is not efficient to be done with meetings. And now to first separate it a bit, so you have retention, which is an underserved area, which mostly relies on meetings and opinions and less on fact and math, which is much more unbiased if you have enough data. And then on the other hand, on acquisition. So also in acquisition now, if I know that a player or a certain marketing channel leads to a certain group of players, let's say VIPs, high rollers, maybe casual players, there's nothing wrong with a player that might come once a month for an hour. So like in a casino, I might go to Vegas like every 5 years, but when I'm going there, I go to a casino. That means that I'm a regular player in my frequency, but it's very hard to understand this in a role. So in another role, I might actually be someone that has churned, but in reality, I just come every 5 years, but I always go to your casino. Same is true in online. So knowing all of that operational information and figuring out who to target, like do I target via a channel or via a keyword, casual players or regular players, is very important, and then how to engage those players along the journey. And lastly, touching on real time, yes, it's crucial because your player might have played in a dozen casinos already for hours and days and years on end, but the casino might still treat them like a newbie, which is unfair. And you can find out, again, if you have enough data, granular data, that the player is likely to have already used a casino. So if I go to a casino website, I know what to do. Sign up, deposit, play. If someone else goes there, they might be lost. Like 50,000 games, sports, real-time in-play, combination bets. So they might click around, they might open a game or two, close it quickly. So all of that then helps you to maybe guide that player more, which might annoy the more frequent player. So, and all of this, again, is too much data to be handled individually. So I used to do first-level user support in forums when we had hundreds of players in previous companies, but you can't do this with thousands or tens of thousands of players.
Exactly.
So, that's
So we're among friends here. We have about 250 viewers on YouTube right now, and we're not going to spill the beans because at one of our conferences, I've been asked, why don't we do a conference? We always talk about anti-money laundering directives and stuff like that at our conferences, and I was asked, why don't we do a conference about how to teach people how to launder money? So this time it's about psychological triggers. It's no doubt, it's not a secret.
Well, there are business opportunities everywhere.
Exactly. So we all know that there are many psychological triggers that are used in the gambling industry. So and there are also the personalized experiences that make players stick around. So could you guys give any examples about it? Thomas, you can go first on it.
Yes, again, there are many, many parallels to the actual land-based industry, which is decades older than the online industry. So you have different types of players that expect something different from a casino. So in the land-based analogy, you have some people that go there for a bachelor's party or that go there for meeting friends, actually. Lots of seniors go there and see it as a coffee house, and they want to meet friends there, play a bit and leave again. And then you have some high rollers, obviously, that come there for the thrill. So what we have also seen in data and what we can segment is that there are some players, and it again goes down to retention. So we always start off with, what do you actually want to achieve? Do you want to retain players? Do you want to earn more money? Do you want to actually maybe slow gameplay down for some of them, to in the end keep them long in the long run? And interestingly enough, there are some players that actually benefit, you could call them the immersive gamers. So they actually want to experience the game. They want to experience a win. They want to look at the win animation. They will not skip it. They will not play on autoplay. So they really want to enjoy the game. So those players might benefit even from celebrating a large win, which, by the way, happens in social casino a lot. We have lots of animations that then celebrate a large win. while many casino games might show some animation, but always have the option to skip, because some high rollers, obviously they say, okay, I got 5,000x my line win, continue. Yeah, I don't want to be bothered with it. Now, the beauty of it in online casino, you can actually differentiate those. Yeah? So you might have some players that you actually want to show this animation to, still with the option to skip it, or might want to show a longer animation, some additional fireworks. Then some other players will actually be annoyed by that. Yeah, they want to, you could say, glide through the gaming experience. They want to experience more games, more wins. It's a bit like watching a thriller versus watching, I don't know, a rom-com. Yeah, so I'd rather go for the thriller, but that's everyone's personal benefit or favor. I might even skip to some parts because I already know how usually movies play out. But I can figure that out by finding out if the player has impatient clicks, whether the player skips something, plays on autoplay, and maybe also when that actually skips or moves to a point where it's not healthy. Yeah, playing at the wrong hours, clicking too much, and so on and so forth, depositing too quickly after a loss. Yeah, so all of this, I think what you can summarize psychological triggers to then adjust the gameplay if you want to, or at least send messages. Obviously, how you can influence gameplay and how you influence games is limited by regulations and what you can do on your website.
All right, Domenico?
Yes, well, basically, Thomas already covered the majority of the points. In general, what I believe is that the key today, and we're seeing this happening also again outside of our industry, is really about creating personalized content and personalized offers. And even, for example, for sportsbook, or I mean, if the system sees that I'm betting only on, I don't know, okay, Juventus, for example, well, then it would be tricky if my next free bet would be on Inter Milan. So I will probably ban myself from that website.
They would send you a notification
forever.
that somebody hacked your account, most probably.
Correct. So this is very important to me, and this can be applied for sportsbook, can be applied for casino, can be applied for everything. But again, as Thomas said, in the end, it all goes to having the systems to detect this, because I cannot have an army of people just checking a back office and trying to, let's say, analyze some data and try to make some predictions and try to test a few things and see if it works. Luckily enough, in 2023, getting access to data and getting access to them in real time, it's pretty affordable, I would say. It's pretty manageable. There is a tricky part, which is that many platform player account management systems in our industry still maybe a little bit using an old technology, so they struggle a little bit with this because they are a legacy system, very big, not so easy to update. But integrating third party can fix that thing. So it's really about finding the willingness, because eventually it goes there to find the willingness to sit down, understand that acquisition is important, retention is important, but having the right tools with the right data is what allows you then to be successful in retention and be successful in acquisition. Because once you have the data, you can predict, for example, a potential VIP before it even becomes a VIP. And you can offer him, you can even call him, because he will appreciate it. Say, good morning, sir. Do you need any help? Can we offer you something? And especially imagine the scenario where you have like an online casino with a physical presence in a land-based casino. So you get an online, a VIP logging in on the website, and basically through the system, and I won't mention flows for this, you can check his location, see if the player is nearby one of your locations, one of your casinos, and then potentially arrange a taxi for him and send him to the land-based casino where a person would be there at the front door waiting for him, saying, good morning, Mr. Zoltán, welcome to the casino, please come with me. with a glass of champagne or a cup of coffee, depending on the hour of the day, waiting for you. But all of this is possible only if you have the data that Thomas is providing and a tool that allows you to use this data in a quick way without having to let's say, disrupt all the pipeline of existing development tasks that you have in your company.
You also need an army of lawyers, because sometimes you might invade on their privacy and using the data they did not want to share, but that's
Correct.
a different scenario.
But you know, Zoltán, as long as you have the data, at least you have the power of choice and you have the option to check what is allowed and what is not allowed by the regulation. And then you can act accordingly. But even if you don't have the data, and if you don't have a tool to use that data, then it's useless. Yeah.
So you guys mentioned many examples, but can you give a specific case study about a successful retention strategy that you guys implemented? Maybe even name the client as well. Thomas.
We will soon hopefully have an appearance at the show with the client together on stage. Yeah, so that is, we don't otherwise share, obviously, information from clients without consent. Also on data protection, we can touch a bit afterwards if that's of interest. But yes, the best example so far we had, or the best experiences we had, is running staged campaigns. So taking all of the before, so this might be pointers to past performance, past bonus usage, future prediction of bonus use or abuse. Yeah, so it's actually quite easy to identify whether a bonus can be spent effectively or will be spent effectively on a player, and also future value. Yeah, so if you take all of that into account, which are many, many factors, obviously, you put that into a model, then you can target players who at that specific day or at that specific week or moment would benefit from an incentive, which again can then be staged a message depending on risk, obviously. Yeah? So the low risk, you might just send a nice message or whatever you have at your disposal, maybe some tickets for a show if you have a casino and so on and so forth. The very, very high risk, high value players, you might even want to give real money or something of real value, send them a laptop or an iPad. So whatever you want, and those then do those consistently. So the beauty of it is that, again, once you have established the model, and after a couple of iteration, you can very easily, with control and target groups, that's the beauty of math, you can actually prove the uplift of it. Then you let it run on autopilot, and then machine learning models can be mathematically tracked. This is called data drift, model monitoring, to identify whether now your data has changed, because maybe your platform has changed, your accounting principles have changed. Maybe bonuses are not deductible anymore, and so on and so forth. So that's the beauty of it, and all of that without a meeting. Of course, there is an upfront discussion about this, data protection, contracts, and so on and so forth. But in operation, you can then, once you are happy with it, and of course, by always checking it, run this part in autopilot, and then use all this time that you have left or suddenly have at your disposal to actually create more data to monitor and create better incentives or better interactions. So create the feature in your platform you always wanted to. So my pain always was 80% of the work goes into regulatory compliance stuff and other things, and then actually 20% goes into your product.
All right.
And ideally you do it the other way around.
All right. So with Domenico, it would be easy. You could send him either Juventus gear or running shoes.
Yes.
For example, I wouldn't mind running shoes either, but I'm not sure if you get it from casino data. So we have to get to do it. And as you asked for specific examples, so we see anything around 75% uplift for day 3 retention and 20% sustained uplift on other KPIs like depositors, deposit player, depositors, activity in the game, which always, of course, depends also on the maturity of the platform and what you can do. So can you run monthly campaigns manually, or can you actually run real-time campaigns when we tell you to? And that all affects this. But you don't have to start touching legacy systems. Everyone has some legacy systems. You don't have to start real-time everything. Just get started. Just collect data, run a monthly campaign, and get into it. So this is not something you need to do overnight.
Exactly. Domenico.
Well, from my end, of course, as we work with B2C operators, but also with B2B suppliers providing our product, I would focus more on one specific KPIs, which is that basically we manage successfully in many cases to move the development cycle from months to days. And I don't want to, okay, I'm the sales guy, so of course I am what I am. And I don't want to say days, but I have cases where actually my colleague Malu managed to build flows for some of our customers in one day, in a couple of hours, because the moment you have these kind of tools that allow you basically to visually build all the processes based on the data that we discussed so far, that's, in my opinion, is one of the best KPIs you can get, because regulation is changing so fast. New competitors are coming in the market more faster. So you need to have data, but again, then you need to have a way to use this data and to build something out of it.
All right. So let's talk about technological advancements as well, because most probably is going to be artificial intelligence. So technological advancements that enable better tracking and optimization of player behavior. So Thomas.
Mm-hmm. So yes, machine learning, as we all now, I think, know from the news, has been around for decades. Yeah? So our CEO and founder, Ebert Duschmidt, has done this for biotechnology in the 90s. Yeah? So this is not new. What is new is that since a couple of years, it's actually at our disposal. Yeah? So there are very nice algorithms, started with transformer networks. Those allow us and cheaper resources, cheaper graphic card resources and cloud resources, obviously, to just use this with a lower entry boundary. And that is the base layer. This also saw the rise of ChatGPT and others. And this now makes it useful to run it in production, and also at the end of the day, we all have to live off of it. Yeah. So in a matter that you can pay, or that it can be sustainably done in a supplier operator relationship. So yes, this is the base advantage, the base advancement. Another, to my surprise, advancement was GDPR, yeah, which also, but with all its headaches, gives us more clarity on what to do and what not to do with data. Yeah. So this is actually a silver lining out of it. So that once you get through the contract phase and you have this sorted out, we always do that initially, obviously, so before doing any work, then you know what you can do with the data, and you know what you can't do with the data. Yeah? And you can also inform the user. As such, I think this also lowers the level of uncertainty, because at the end of the day, no one wants to be liable for misusing data. So both GDPR and the availability of AI and machine learning algorithms, also open source algorithms, is amazing. What still is hard, and this is why companies like ours are around to support this or to solve this, is to run this end-to-end in real time and make sense of it. Yeah, so you still bolting it together is something that doesn't come out of the box. You need to review data, you need to review results, and you need to present them responsibly. Yeah, so you can always show data in a way that it's amazing, yeah, but you actually have to challenge it, and this is what we do internally, and also before, obviously, we present something to our customers. Yeah?
All right.
So responsible AI, you could say.
Oh.
Well, did you buy the domain name, Thomas?
Not yet. Probably someone bought it. Not like, just a very simple example. If I have 100 and I make 102 out of it, while everyone else makes 101 out of it, I could say I have a 200% increase, yeah, which is technically correct, yeah, but it's not something you want to say because it might be misleading. 200% to me is 200. Yeah, so these kind of tricks or these kind of things you have to be aware of when looking at results, whether it's AI or whether it's your classic standard marketing campaign team. Yeah. So.
Well, on my end, I see AI being an amazing assistant from now, in the sense that we've been seeing that in many cases, the AI ChatGPT or Bard or any other language model is basically improving every day, acquiring more data, acquiring more knowledge, and getting more inputs. I'm not so sure it's getting smarter, actually. I have this question mark. in my head, but definitely it's a useful tool that you can use to support and to get inspiration and to do some of the things that before were made by humans. Regarding, let's say, how to apply all these concepts to, let's say, the retention, the acquisition, and so on and so forth, definitely it's a possibility, because you can use it as a third party, for example, to send a personalized message to every single players without having, let's say, to write them. And you can have, for example, based again on the location of the customer, and then you can check the weather condition and see if it's sunny or if it's raining, and then you say, welcome to Domenico, bet today is raining in Chicago, you know, enjoy a nice cup of coffee, something like that. So definitely AI is increasing the presence also in our industry. We have been seeing now even slot providers starting using Midjourney for creating symbols for slots. So it's interesting time ahead, and let's see how this will develop further.
Yeah, but yeah, machines are getting smarter, and we're still trying to figure out how to use a can opener. And sooner or later, maybe your smart coffee machine will have a better resume than you have.
Well, that will be very easy.
Yeah, that will be very easy. All right, so we have about 3 minutes left, so that leaves us for the final question about how to build a retention-focused organization culture, which also ties to our next panel, that aligns with your business goals. So, Thomas.
By the way, I still have sometimes issues handling microwave ovens because their UI UX is horrible, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
So what we see and what we do usually is there are two things: either a top-down strategy where there is some overarching goal or worry or like declining KPI. Yeah, let's say there is declining NGR or declining or an increased retention rate across the board often. Where you want to resolve this, yeah. So please fix A, B, C, D. Yeah, usually in priority. Yeah, so we usually start off with either hypotheses or problems that we then solve. Yeah, which is very nice because you can say you have some certain baseline that you're looking at. You get the data you need to then create models. Yeah, to create, for example, targeted campaigns to solve that problem, and then you solve it. Yeah, and then you rinse and repeat the whole process. Which is, let's say, usually a management-driven, even finance-driven decision, yeah, because, which I also like, it's data-driven, yeah, so there is no meeting about color required. And then there is something else, which is bottom-up, yeah, so while doing that, or maybe in some cases from the beginning, you can use machine learning models to identify patterns that you don't know yet. Yeah, so the important or the famous unknown unknowns. Yeah, so there are lots of things about any business that you don't know and that your employees don't know that might be counterintuitive, but you never explore them. Yeah, and some of those might actually really hurt your bottom line, or might even be exploited by competitors. Yeah, so if they found it out for you. And so we see those two principal patterns. You can deploy both at the same time. You can deploy one or two of the one or the other of them. Typically, we'll start with a top-down KPI-based approach, which is also the best to monitor, to measure, and to, in the end, then also talk about. Yeah.
All right, Domenico.
Well, very briefly, basically, thanks to companies like Thomas, we can get, let's say, feeded with data that then can help our customers to shape and take actions and create automations based on those data, so they can basically create their own strategy and automate their own strategy based on this kind of data pattern and data in general. So I see this as a very, very, very interesting topic. Unfortunately, I think our time is off, and but again, it's important that small operators, big operators, they try to spend and allocate some time to analyze how they're managing all their retention processes internally and see if there is a way to improve them.
All right. So that was a fun half hour. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Bye.
So make sure to look up Domenico and Thomas on LinkedIn and ask for more information about their companies and about their experiences. And thank you, Domenico, Thomas, for this. I would like to invite the next session panelists online.